Hey everybody, Jess Intuitive Angel Healer here with your Grounded. Thank you so much for joining us for number 5 episode of our live author meet and greet, Telling Stories by the Sea. Today we are joined by Jon, I'm going to try it, Sansone.
That's right.
Yes. I'm so proud of myself that I got that right. I hate messing up names, but he is in Dallas, Texas, and he has quite the journey to share with us. He just published his book, Sales Warrior, and this is all about the mindset of a salesperson and how to get better, and it's near and dear to my heart. I love this subject because I'm a natural born salesperson. I'm a spiritual person now, but in my life I did 10 years of direct sales, so I think that was just training for my positivity mindset, because that's what sales is all about, that mindset. That's the most successful salespeople anyways I see. And so you have a story about showing up in Dallas with
Yes,
only $300 in your pocket and a dream. So I'm going to hand it over to you and go ahead and tell us, you know, uh, where you're from and a little bit about your journey in this book.
absolutely. So, Jess, I'm Jon Sansone to your audience. I'm a professional salesperson for the last 31 years. I'm originally from a town outside of Kansas City, Missouri called St. Joseph, Missouri.
Been
And
there.
31 years ago, I rolled into Dallas, Texas. Really didn't have a job, had $300 to my name, had some relatives to stay with for a time before I could find a job. And I went through a process of really discovering what I was going to do with my life. I first tried to go into the advertising business, and I ended up going into the advertising business just to find out that I needed to get into professional sales. Every step of the way in the advertising business, there were just like warning signs that said, hey, you need to be into professional sales. For one, I worked for an ad agency in Dallas, in downtown Dallas. It was a small agency, and the people that called on me were like the radio and TV
Yeah.
salespeople, and they made so much more money than I did. And then I came to realize that I really couldn't make it off of the money I was making in my chosen profession. And so I started selling on the weekends to supplement my income. And what I found out was I started making as much on the weekends as I was making at my job. And that just kind of gave me a red flag that said, hey, Jon, the writing's on the wall. You need to get a good gig and pursue it and get out of this, dead end position you're in.
Well, that's awesome that you had that mindset, because that's really hard. Some people, it's when you have a dream, sometimes, if you don't pursue that dream, that's what it is. It just stays a dream. But you decided to go and heed that dream. So how did you get your breakthrough that you ended up, finally succeeding with all that?
Yeah, that's a great story. Okay. So I was selling magazines over the phone, which most
I've
people
done
got
that.
to think that's got to be, and I was supplementing my income, and I was actually making a lot of money selling magazines over the phone, which is wild to think about. But I was making as much money to, a Saturday, and I guess I might have worked a Sunday too. I can't actually remember now, so many years ago, but maybe I did work some Sundays too. So Saturday and Sunday, I made as much money doing that as I did in my regular gig. And I learned a ton from selling magazines over the phone, in terms of like selling, overcoming objections, getting past rejection, just the ABCs of selling. And and two, I realized like how good I was at it, because I was new to the organization, and they were putting my name up on the wall, and then my name was on a plaque, and then, it just started that whole. But But what I'm trying to get to, I was working there one Saturday, called this gentleman on the phone, and he told me he couldn't buy this magazine. So I offered him another magazine, and then I offered him another magazine. I kept trying to get him in a magazine. And he said, John, I cannot buy a magazine, but I want to offer you a job. And I work for a Fortune 500 company. So that's how I got my start.
That is definitely divine timing, and I think when you're following your true path, that's when stuff starts laying. And it's not always about what you
Mm-hmm.
know; it's about who you meet. And I feel like, I'm very spiritual, and I feel that
Mm-hmm.
that's how we kind of get rewarded for choosing to chase our dream and do what feels right for us. And sales is a whole nother world. If you haven't ever done sales, a lot of people say I can't do sales. When I've told them my stories of going door to door and talking to people, they're like, "How could you do it?" I'm like, "I don't know. It was just another day at work. It was
Right.
more interesting." But I've always had the mindset that I knew I could. I don't know. I guess it's all about a mindset, and you can always be taught sales, but a lot of it, comes naturally as well. So what
Yeah.
inspired you to create this book? So I feel that this kind
Uh-huh.
of leads into the how you got the inspiration to create this book.
So, you know, the inspiration came from, I was part of, I think it was like a Tony Robbins series. It was a free series they did this summer, and they did a little excerpt from Brendan Bouchard. And I'd been following Brendan a little bit because a buddy of mine went to a couple of his seminars. And Brendan said, you need three things if you want to be a motivational person. You need a book, you need to write a book, you need to have a class that people can take online, and you need to offer professional one-on-one mentorship. And and I'm pretty much super busy with my current business, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
about 6 years from like full retirement. So
Nice.
not that I'm going to
Congratulations.
be retired per se. I'm going to probably be involved in another business.
Oh,
And it's
yeah.
probably going to be based on like motivational speaking and that type of thing. But but it just hit me. I can write a book. Um, and I just got out my son's laptop and I just started writing. Um, and then I would get done with one chapter. I tried to do a chapter a night. And so, and maybe some nights I did two chapters. I got to be honest, I think I banged the thing out in like 9 days, and it's 20
Wow.
chapters. And,
That's
but it wasn't a matter of like, did I have the information? Like I had to research nothing for my book. It was
because
all
it's
just
all
up
in
in my
here.
head. Yeah. 31
Exactly.
years of selling and all my stories that I have. And two, to be a good salesperson, if you're both a salesperson and you've been on the other side where you're a buyer, and so you've been like associating or interacting with a salesperson, you learn a lot from both sides. Like I've learned a lot over the years from watching other salespeople try to sell me stuff.
I've, I've, because I've always done so much sales, I don't mind helping other people out. But then
Mm-hmm.
I always get the ones that I'm just like, come here. I'm not even going to buy anything from you, but you're going to sit here and we're going to have a chat because what are you doing? Because they just drive me insane because they're so
Yeah.
slimy. And I'm just like, no. And they're the young kids that come door to door and they have no idea. And I'm just like, I would have bought something from you. But first of all, you used my line that I used like 20 years ago on me. I can't. I can't
Right.
help you now. Now you just lied to me. But um that's awesome, and that's
Yeah.
what is really cool that you created a book. And the whole process of taking writing a book and getting it published. Now, did you get it self-published?
Yeah.
um
I just self-published in my rationale for that. And I'm not trying to like, I don't need the money. Like, I don't need to sell any books at all. I didn't do it to make money. I did it for, they talk about in college Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I did it
Yes.
because it's a part of self-actualization. It's something that my kids can read the rest of their life. My grandkids can read for the rest of their life. Their kids can read for the rest of their life. I think it's impactful. And two, I believe that in the particularly professional sales, which is what I've been a part of, in professional sales, there's so much bad information out there. And the people
Yes.
that tend to teach selling aren't salespeople, and they have no track record. And it drives me insane. And it's been that way in like every gig I've ever been in. Like, there's a lot of people who have sold things in specific industries, but they're limited. Like, they've sold insurance, they've sold software, they've sold furniture, they've sold clothing.
Yes.
But me, I've sold professionally probably 5 different industries successfully, which is highly unusual, because when you talk to a recruiter, and I used to be in industrial chemical sales, and you talk to a recruiter and you tell them you want to be in software sales, they're like, well, you can't do that. You don't know anything about software. And I'm like, I used to program computers. I know a ton about software,
You're
but more
like, I think I
importantly,
need.
I'm a salesperson. And if you're a salesperson, sales is duplicatable. And that's what I had to bring up multiple times in my career in order to get opportunity.
Yes, and it's all about if your sales ties in, and I didn't realize this because you don't know all the terminology if you're not familiar with it, but like there's a famous book, The Secret, and it's on Netflix too, and it's all about
Mm-hmm.
law of attraction and
Yeah,
manifestation. And
big believer.
the three rules is ask, believe, receive. Simple as that. But we always mess up on the third part, which is believing or receiving, because you
Mm-hmm.
gotta do the first part, which is believing, and that's about sales. If you believe it, because I would go out there, and I've made about $3,000 a month when, going door to door,
Mm-hmm.
that's pretty good.
Oh,
But
absolutely it is.
to have that mindset, and I would just go out there and make $1,000, and because I got myself really pumped up in the morning, and I had a number in my mind that I was going to make, and I came home with it, and
That's
I didn't
impressive.
understand that. I didn't understand that. Thank you. I didn't understand that that was a manifestation, but now that's why I'm very mindful of my thoughts, because thoughts are things and they become things eventually. So if you believe that, I used to tell people I'm going to be retired at 40, and I really, to be honest, if I would have stuck on my path and not diverted for all the
Yeah.
things, I would have been successful, because I was really good at sales. But when I told people at 20 that I'm going to be retired in 20 years, at 40 chilling, they're like, no, you're not. That's impossible. And I was like, just because you're mad because you don't know how to have a good mindset to draw this in. And that's what I've understood the disconnect is that I teach my clients, I go down
Mm-hmm.
to basic level. We go back to Peter Pan, and I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
do you remember the Lost Boys in Neverland, and they're eating the
Sure.
food, but there's no food on the table? And that's because they use their imagination, and that's part of it. You have to, until it gets here, you have to almost kind of pretend that it's here, and keep going about your business like it's already here, and then it'll get here faster, because our manifestations are constantly, if you're dreaming about being done in 6 years, if you really put it to, you may do it in 4 years. uh
I'm checking all the boxes. I mean, I denied myself years of spending money, and 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 I just was creative about how I spent my money, which allowed me to save more money. And we did inexpensive vacations with the kids. I was a Boy Scout leader, so we did a lot of camping. We went to like New Mexico and Colorado several times, and the Ozark. We went to really cool places, but like during my kids growing up, I took them on maybe 4 expensive vacations, and those expensive vacations, for the most part, I won in sales contests.
Nice.
So,
So see
so they
that.
didn't really curtail me from my goal. And then one of my big goals was to pay my house off. I did that last year. I paid my cars off last year.
High
Yeah,
five.
big high five.
That's
And
pretty
I
awesome.
saved all the money for them to go to college. So all that's situated and everything. So now it's just really a matter of
Keeping yourself
just kind of,
busy.
yeah, keeping myself busy and just but like the day-to-day about worrying about money is not a concern anymore, which is a great feeling. And I talk about that in my book quite a bit. I talk from selling from a place of power, which allows you to be strategic instead of needy.
Exactly. So I would like to go
Mhm.
ahead and have you share a little bit about your book with us, if you don't mind.
Sure. I thought what I would do, I brought my book here. It's an electronic book that's bought on Amazon. But
Yes.
what I thought I would do is share like some of my forward with your audience, and then share my whole introduction, because it gives people a better idea of like what they're getting themselves into, and then maybe a few pages of chapter 1. Because by then we'll probably have you'll probably have more questions for me. But so I'll start off with my forward. And
Okay.
I was real strategic about who's in my forward, but I'll start off with the first gentleman. So he says about me, I'm so honored to call Jon Sansone a friend. I've always been impressed by his passion for music and his love and dedication to family and friends. Jon is truly an inspiration to us all. Now, John Regan wrote this about me, but I want to give an example of his background. So John, who's a friend of mine that we met on the internet, he's a professional musician, he's a songwriter, and he's also a music producer. He's most famous for playing with Ace Frehley in the 80s with Frehley's Comet, but he's also been on the road multiple years and on different albums with Peter Frampton, and he's also played with his own band, 4 by Fate. Then I go on to, in my forward, talk about this is coming from a gentleman who I currently work with in my consulting business and I help mentor. And this is what he has to say about me. In addition to being an exceptional friend, father, and colleague, Jon Sansone has given us insight into his successful career. For years, Jon has mentored me and taught me and led me significantly, and it's helped me with more business. His new book, Sales Warrior, is a game changer. Too many sales books do not provide real, tangible stories on how to develop deep relationships and close business. Sales Warrior will absolutely improve your sales mindset and improve your life. And it's from Ben Davis, and he cites his business as being planning, consulting services, and business development.
Nice.
So those are 2 individuals that kind of kick off who I am. Here's my introduction. And it just starts off, Jess, and it says, I imagine many of us want to leave their mark on the world one day. I was such a child. I remember people would ask, Jon, what do you want to do when you grow up? And even when I was 5 years old, the question of what I wanted to do seemed quite perplexing. I used to get a lot of smiles and laughs as a child. I could not decide what I wanted to do. I remember telling an uncle, remember I'm 5, that I either wanted to be a dwarf or a clown. And but nobody told me you had to be born a dwarf, and that being a clown is a profession where you'd have to join the circus and leave your family. I believe this far into my book, you're already getting a glimpse of the character and the man who wrote this book. I'm not afraid to share and to laugh at life and myself. You see, I believe life is for living. I do not know why you bought my book, or if you're just starting out in sales or continuing your career. I do know that if you take the time to read my book, you'll walk away with a better understanding of how to play the game. I poured my heart and soul into this book. I believe it has tremendous value to the reader. This book has my very best ideas from 31 years in sales, known as warrior weapons. As you read my book, you realize that I'm an average individual with an above average drive, and I'm obsessed with going the extra mile to share my ideas and enjoy life. We only get to play on this playground once, and at some point, the game of life will be over, and the teacher and God will tell us that we have to come back inside. I want to make sure I leave my mark on the playground. If you go over to the swing set, you'll see I painted the secrets to sales success. This is a journey and not a destination. I hope you enjoyed the first word picture in my book. And this kicks off more. I came from very humble beginnings. I remember in my early 20s not having a job. I was stuck in Dallas, unemployed, no internet, no friends. I was new to town. I did, however, have my drive, creativity, and a car to get me from point A to point B. I went to the library and I checked out many inspirational cassettes. I typed cover letters and resumes on my electric typewriter. I mailed my resumes and I followed up on job opportunities. I only had about $10 a week to spend on groceries. My other unemployment income went to gas and rent. I was broke. My creative juices, and I'm going to say my depression, were at all-time highs. I fought depression with professional counseling and medication, but also stayed locked into my drive. I made hundreds of phone calls. I went on many interviews. I decided I was going to go into professional sales. Sales was not my first choice. I was 6 foot tall, so I could not be a dwarf, and joining the circus was not going to work out. I did get clarity, and I was going to chase my dream. I hope my book helps you trace your dream. And I hope you find a rewarding career. If you do not end up in sales, remember the salesperson the next time you buy a TV or smartphone. We're all people and everyone has to treat each other with respect. I'm not saying that you should feel sorry and buy from every salesperson. I would say the exact opposite. Only buy from good salespeople that have good products that you can afford, and be nice to them and treat them with dignity. The journey has been long, stressful, exciting, filled with compensation and disappointment. The disappointments have not been because I believe that I fell short of my goals. The disappointments have been a part of the sales game. There's a level of rejection in sales that not everyone's going to buy. The important point is that someone buys and that you and your family can enjoy life. My goal would be that Sales Warrior gives you inspiration and insight. I would hope that you create a list of life achievements and use it to motivate yourself for your next sale. The list must excite you and jazz you. I wake up every day wanting to provide juice to folks that need it. The spark burns inside of me and I have a need to give back. I'd be so happy if you read my book in 2 days and then returned to it again and again for more insight. I would then know that I left my mark when the bell rings. So that's my intro.
Nice. I like it. That's a really good intro because I can super appreciate that, being a salesperson, because there's some, we always had a saying, some days are rocks and some days are diamonds. So you stay in it for the diamonds, because you never know. You could get up and do everything correctly and get a big fat zonker zero and think like, wow, what's wrong with me? But then the next day, there's this little thing called law of averages. And I always tell people, you got a law of average. So for every no, you're going to get a yes. So if you have a bad day, guess what? You're going to be a superstar the next day. And if it doesn't happen the next day, it's got to happen soon. And the only thing that'll make it stop from happening is your attitude. Because that's, again, where we get into, if you get in the middle of, what's going on? Why can't I do anything right? You start beating yourself up. Well, then you just created a block for you to have to overcome. And then that's why it takes you so long to achieve your sales goal. But
absolutely.
And it, because I used to be a sales manager too.
Okay.
Sophia Cecil, she's over at I can't. I'm sorry, Sophia. It's been a long day.
Is she asking a question?
No, she's telling you, I would love to buy your book, Mr. Jon. Totally agree with that. You said it about being tragic, not needy in sales. So
Oh, awesome.
she
Send her
wanted
out
to
to
give you.
Amazon. She can get it at Amazon, and she can also get it at Amazon if she's like got the Amazon. I can't remember what they call it,
Here's
but it's like people to sign up for like $10 a month, and they can read whatever they want. It's available there,
the
and then it's
Kindle,
available. What? Yeah,
the
Kindle
Kindle.
something.
And here's the link
Mhm.
too. I put that up too. I love this. I forget StreamYard's a little different and you can add it
Mhm.
to the screen. So, yeah, you get to add all the comments here. So,
Cool.
I love your attitude because it's been a long time since I've got to sit down and have a conversation about sales. Because
Oh,
other
okay.
than angels and toxic relationships, I could talk about all three all day because I have literally lived it my whole life. I got into medical assisting in 2008, and that's kind of where my sales kind of went over to the medical field. But it did help me to deal with patients. All those people that I dealt with,
Yeah.
I found out I got really good people skills. And so just to no, she's Sophia because she loves me and she knows I'm tired. She's with Body to Soul. It says, I'm a nutritionist and a business coach. I think you believe in the products. That's why you sell so much. To me, your product is a gift to the world. So I love Sophia. She's always got something
Oh,
beautiful to say on
awesome.
our thing. So I'm gonna ask you now.
Mhm.
I always ask this of my writers because usually the best writing I've ever had is because of some kind of grief in my life. As
Mhm.
how has grief been a part of your writing process and helped keep you inspired?
Excellent question. And grief is something that if we live long enough, we're all going to experience. I, however, started experiencing grief at age 27 when I lost my brother, who was 32 at the time, of a massive heart attack. And then 6 months later, I lost my father of a massive heart attack at 55. So I think I've had an unusual amount of grief, and there's two ways to deal with it. It's how you evaluate things that go on in your life. One, you could evaluate it and you could say the world's horrible, so on and so forth. That's weird.
No, the light went off.
Yeah. You could evaluate it that way. I'm going to try and do something here. Or you could evaluate it where, you know what, they're not here to live, but now you can live for them. And
Exactly.
and that's kind of how I approach life. And so like when I say the line life is for living, I don't take that lightly.
Exactly.
I truly believe life is for living. Like as an example, if I get done with dinner, I'm in a book and I'm reading or I'm watching a movie or I'm enjoying time with my kids, I truly try to experience life full on all the time. I believe that there's all kinds of opportunity to have like special moments in your life, and it's up to you to create those special moments, whatever those special moments might be. Like call it little droplets of joy, and the more droplets of joy that you have in your life, at the end of the day, if you have more droplets of joy than grief, then it's been a successful life.
That is so true. And I my dad passed when I was 16, and I've I've finally reached that age, even though I'm still a young buck. I'm only 39, about to be 40, but I've pretty much lost my whole family, and I think
Oh,
it's that
wow.
I think like I have my mom and my brother, but
Hmm.
like my grandparents, my dad, everybody is pretty much gone. And
Yeah.
I guess that happens when you hit about your 40s, but you don't think about, hey, I'm not going to have half my family. And so sometimes that's a little like if you're, we always had the I was born in Abilene, Texas, so
Yeah.
in Texas, you're very family togetherness. No matter how dysfunctional your family is, you're together and you spend the holidays together. And it's like ever since my grandmother's passed, it's kind of that tradition just kind of we don't get
Yeah.
together and you don't get to feel that anymore. But you know, it's not good to just sit in it. You know what I mean? You can, it's
Oh
always good
yeah.
to grieve, but I always tell people they're not too far away from you because I am like a spiritual medium too. So I get the gift of actually getting to have contact with my dad and
Oh,
the
neat.
rest of my family, which is pretty cool to me. Other people are like, that's nice. But I I find it very comforting, and because they don't show up, that's the thing, is spirits don't just show up whenever and do ooga
Yeah.
booga like Hollywood portrays it. Mine come when I'm having a really bad day and I'm really down on
Okay.
myself, and I think
Yeah.
I just want to go be like an ostrich and hide my head in the ground.
Right. Right.
And that's when all of a sudden I'll see a robin pass by or a butterfly almost hit me in the face or something just to be like, hey, I'm here. You're not alone, so stop it. And I'm like, okay. And then I go on about my day. So it's kind of
Okay.
it's kind of fun that way. But what keeps you inspired to keep going as a writer? Sounds like your kids, and
Yeah.
you said you're married for 26 years.
Yeah. I've been married for 26 years,
That's
and
awesome.
yeah. Thank you. And what keeps me inspired? I'm going to say I'm always in the process of setting new goals. And my goals aren't necessarily monetary goals. Uh, my goals are more along the track of like self actualization. Like for instance, this year I wanted to have more friends in Dallas. What a great year to start that. And so I joined a charity in Dallas, a fantastic charity. It's actually a national and or an international charity. It's called Operation Rock the Troops. And so what we do is we specifically help with PTSD with true Army, Navy, Marines, real warriors. Um, we put on professional rock shows for them. That's why it's called Operation Rock the
That's really
Troops.
cool.
We've done international tours. We build up funds from getting corporate sponsorship, and then we just get on the road. And one of the big things we've been doing recently is songwriting camps. So I got
That's
involved
really
with that
cool.
this year. I've gotten involved with another like Dallas children's charity in Dallas called Margarita Society, and I've been involved with it. I'm not a member, but I'm involved with it like monetarily, and giving back to me has just been a joyful experience. I joined a group called it's a meetup group called Finding Joy, and we go to parks and we hike together. And I find that to be a blast too. I used to be a Boy Scout leader for 7 years, and we used to camp with the boys once a month. So I was constantly outside and in the elements. So those are like some of the goals. So that keeps me inspired. Recently, what's really jazzed me though is I just got done reading J. Fox's book. I think it's called Optimism or something like that. But it basically like walks you through when he first got Parkinson's and his
Really?
whole journey of acceptance of having Parkinson's. And that's so humbling to me that what he's been, and now he calls his Parkinson's a gift. And he says his last like 20 years of dealing with Parkinson's has been the best time of his life. Even though it's been a struggle, he's grown as a person.
Yes. And I remember that. And if you watch his last show,
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember the sitcom that he was on, but you'll notice that he had the beginning stages of Parkinson because he just wasn't looking right on there.
No,
But he is you
no.
know, he's a very talented guy, and it's just a crazy the things that we deal with that people keep hidden from the world that nobody knows about as your little secret, you know, and then it finally comes out and you're like, well, thank God. You're like, phew, off my shoulders. So you sound like you
Yeah.
are a very busy guy and you don't even have time to you're always looking for the next project. I love it because that's what you have to do if you want to make your dreams come alive, because they're either going to stay dreams or they're going to come into fruition. So now,
Yeah.
how
Yeah.
do you overcome fear in the writing process? Because I always tell people
Hmm.
that's why I created this series. I'm a writer. I
Hmm.
love to write poetry, and I keep sounding like a broken record. I need to write that book. I just haven't. You know, my overthinking has stopped it. But anywho, how do you overcome that to actually get it published and get it out there?
Okay. So I wrote the book, and then my buddy Ben, who was in the forward, Ben Davis, I thought, he kind of, my wife's actually an English teacher and she's edited a ton of books. She's in the
Nice.
process of editing a friend of hers book. So when it comes out, Jess, you could interview her friend and her
Awesome.
too about her book.
I would
Um,
love to.
but, uh, but my buddy Ben explained to me like what his background was. And he did a lot of writing in college. He said that, he is a grammar expert and being a creative, grammar is not my thing, even though I have a journalism and advertising degree. Um, there are people that have better grammar than me. and so, and so I was like, so I put the bad boy on Google Docs and then I shared it with my buddy Ben. And then he and his girlfriend for like 2 weeks improved all the grammar, helped me with some content in terms of like structure and things like that. And helped me with some topic sentences. I mean, I'm 54 years old, so it's been a lot of years since I've put together a term paper or anything to that. I'm a sales guy, I write proposals. But anyway, um, he really helped me with getting my ideas on paper. And I have to admit, the weekend that I published it to Amazon, I was so nervous. Even though like he did all the grammar on it and everything, I did a once over grammar myself and I found some things that needed to be changed on it. Um, and then I published it and went through the process, and Amazon makes it so easy to publish because they got some really cool software. You just download it into Word, then you download it into their Kindle e-book software, and then you can see it. You can make a bunch of changes to it. When it's all good, then you upload it to Amazon, to the Kindle publishing app or whatever, and then you create your cover, and then you're ready to roll. And
That's really
but
cool.
but I have to admit, like that 2 days of going from it being in a Word document to being in the Kindle app to me putting it online and being able to sell it, I was nervous. I was uh, I was definitely nervous, and I procrastinated, but I was also like really excited. So I was so focused on getting it done that I just kind of pushed through. I was just so focused. And one of the things that got me really excited about it, my mom was getting really excited about it. And so I actually printed off a manuscript for her and I dedicated the book to her as well as some other family in the book.
Oh,
And my mom's 80. And
that's
so,
really
I'm
cool.
not going to have her for the next 15 years. I might only have her for the next 5 years. So if I could do something that makes her happy, and she's been really enjoying reading my book, so that's jazzed me. So it's all about like you reach your economic goals, and then it's about self-actualization, like how much fun can I have and how much can I do for others. Like that's what I'm always thinking, like how can I have fun and how can I do
That's
things for others.
I love that. And your mom is so grateful, I'm sure. Like that's every
Mm-hmm.
mother's dream is to like see their son's success. So I think, 80's an age like my grandmother made it to 91, and what was really
Wow.
cool is that
Yeah.
I they threw her 90th birthday party, and I actually I couldn't really afford it at the time, but I didn't
Mm-hmm.
care because I needed to take my daughter down there for one more time to have
Oh,
like
okay.
that memory. So I have now a memory of her at my grandmother's birthday party in the pictures. And that's really cool that she got to experience, you know, her 90th birthday with her. And it was just a really,
Absolutely. Yeah.
that's a really neat thing to do. So you know, we'll shoot for 100 for your mom and in good health because
Well,
I love it.
yeah, I hope.
She sounds like an awesome lady. Um,
She's a very smart lady.
yes, I love it.
Yeah,
How do you have any you said you had some charities and causes that you support?
I do. Yeah. Yeah. I was highly involved in the Boy Scouts for 7 years. I gave up a lot of my time. I was an Eagle Scout as a kid. And then when my boys got to be the age of going through scouting, I wanted to do some things with them, and scouting seemed like a great thing to do because it teaches just some of the basics of success. Um, you have requirements that you do, and then you achieve these badges, and then we award the badges. And I just, it was so impactful to me when I was a child and a young man. And it just has taught me if I just kind of stay in the process, I will achieve. It's not a matter of if I'm going to achieve, it's like when I'm going to achieve. Like
Exactly.
there was never a doubt in my mind about getting debt free, paying my house off. I was like, if I can live long enough, I can do it. Um, and being successful in my different sales gigs, you always, there's that in sales. I like to say it's the hard, easy job. And the reason I say that is because you got to make the hard calls. You got to do the confronting the client. And I'm not saying that, you badger a client. I'm just saying that you got to make that step, make that phone call, have that appointment,
Yeah.
put that
It can,
proposal together. Um, that's the hard part. When you get the yes and you make the money, that's the easy part of the job. Like
yeah.
it's not like on Friday I have 30 things that I have to do to be able to come in on Monday. If I want to quit at 3 o'clock on Friday, I'm good.
Yeah.
you know and that's why it's the hard, easy job. So when you're doing it, there's hard things that you have to do. But in terms of, is it a 60-hour work week, a 50-hour work week, a 40-hour work week? It's a talking to the right people, putting the right information in front of them that's appropriate for them, and them agreeing to buy it. And that's how it's been in every sales gig I've ever had.
That it sounds about how every sales job that I've ever had too. And my thing was, you know, I had to really get myself going when I looked outside and I was in Missouri and I've been
Oh,
to
what
St.
part?
Well, I sold stuff in meat in St. Louis, or I
Mm-hmm.
was in like not in St. Louis because that's a terrible part. I was actually in the suburbs of St. Florissant
Oh,
area.
Florissant. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Now I
I
know
was
that well.
I was around that area, and then but I would drive out because when you sell meat, you drive out to the country. So my only
Oh,
thing was
right.
when it was snowing. Thank goodness I was a girl. That's the only thing that made it better in my life because people would buy stuff because they'd feel bad for me because I was this little girl with a big old truck and freezer, and they're like, "I'll just help you get out of this weather," and they would, I don't know, people would buy stuff from me, but that was really hard some days, like when it's raining, when it's snowing, when the
Oh,
wind's
yeah.
out there and you're gotta go do direct sales now, even on the phone, because when you're
Mm-hmm.
not in a good mood you have to turn it on. And there's that phrase of you gotta fake it to make it, and it's
Absolutely.
very true. You can't continue to fake it, but when you go in
Yeah.
there
You
and
know
you're
that.
not feeling
Yeah.
it, it doesn't matter. That's where that
And
smile
yeah,
came from.
there you go. Well, and that's one of the chapters in my book. And so, like, as I was kind of wrapping it up and putting like all my best ideas together, it would just like hit me. Another chapter would hit me. And one of the chapters that hit me one day was, you got to be happy. Like, I'm a big believer in every sales gig I've ever had, I believe sometimes people have bought from me because they feel like they want me in their lives. And they want my level of happiness in their lives, and they feel like if they buy from me, they're going to get some of my happiness. And so many people in sales aren't happy at all.
Yes.
You know,
Many.
they're not happy go lucky. They somehow evaluated their life as negative, and I always find a way to evaluate my life as positive.
Yes, and a lot of sales, what kind of made me end up going to the medical field, and taking a break from sales is because I loved it, but I was always demeaned for being a woman. I don't know, I just because I was really good at what I did, and
Yeah.
when you walk into a sales group of men your age and you outsell them and you're only 26, that doesn't go over too well. So let's just say I wrote out by myself most of the time because if I sold something and did really good, the person that was with me, his ego would be like, this girl. And then he'd either demand me to give half of my money. And I'm like, no, that doesn't,
Wow.
yeah, exactly. And this is how, like, that's kind of why what started my motivational speaking is that I've experienced so many different facets of what people don't tell you and what you experience, but just I got tired of fighting the fight of I know how good of a salesperson I am and I'm not going to continue if I because they would get me so mad that I would go out and outsell everything and come in and I was like, wait, you're doing this on purpose to make me produce. So, at some point I just got tired of the whole race and I decided to go into the medical field. But then I got tired of being in the medical field because I was like, on bad days, I was like, it's really be nice to go make a $500 today and go have myself a nice meal and not deal with all the stress. But
Sure.
I've had a good time with every field because I believe, I don't want to waste all that 10 years of experience. But I feel like I've applied it and I still use it to this day. Because if you learn how to do sales and you learn the KISS method and you learn all these different little techniques, it helps you in regular life. You don't have to be selling something just to even be a coach or a mentor. It's about
Sure.
learning how to treat people and talk to them genuinely because nobody wants to buy anything from you if you're just, being slimy about it. Like there's some car salesmen out there, can't even get out of my I tried to get out of I drove up on the lot and they literally were coming over at me and I was like, I'm leaving. Because they
Yeah.
were already at my door and I hadn't even got out. And I was like, I can't do this. This is too much.
Right. Right.
So, what are some closing thoughts you would like to share with our audience here and about your
Sure.
book and some encouragement and where they can reach you if they want to get in touch with you?
So the easiest way to reach me is on Facebook, and my business is called Sansone Enterprises. It's
Okay.
just SANSONE space Enterprises. And if they like, they could send me an email to my email address, which is JON F as in Frank 1976 at gmail.com. That's two good ways to get a hold of me. Closing remarks for your listeners. How much time do we have? I just want to understand.
We still have 15 minutes, so
Do we? Okay. Okay. It's
yeah.
all good. I was just, I didn't want to get like really into a specific topic. But, you know, you could do a whole podcast on my line, Life is for Living. I know I say it, but do people really hear it and believe it and experience it? And the reason I say that is because in Tony Robbins, I'm a huge fan of Tony Robbins.
Me too.
He's like, you have something happen to you and you get to choose. Was that a positive experience or was that a negative experience? And it's all about how you evaluate that experience. And I would take it a step further, and I would say, don't evaluate something positive or negative, because that really limits you. Instead, evaluate, these are the good things that happen, the joyful items that happen, the really cool things that happen. Here's a couple negative things that happen. Like, I'll give you an example. I hang out with some people, friends of mine. We've been friends 10 plus years. I love them. They love me. It's something about their psychological makeup, though. Every time they're around me, they throw some like negative remark at me. They fix my glasses, they fix my collar, they do this, they do that. But the thing is like, for me, it's intriguing to me. I'm like, I, I think about it and I'm like, wow, that's wild to me. But it doesn't like ruin my time or my love of them or anything. I just feel like it's about them. Like I tell my wife, if your friend's having problems with you, it's not necessarily you, it's them. And and again, I would just say it's how you evaluate it, because we can't control what happens to us. We can control how we evaluate it. And it just that simple line, life is for living, can change people's life. Because, you're going to have health struggles. You're going to have family struggles. You're going to have money problems. Every single thing that happens in your life. And two, one thing that's helped me big time in the last 20 years is developing the sense that I'm a problem solver. So a problem happens and I begin coming up with ways to solve it. So my family constantly brings problems to me, and I don't just arbitrarily solve it. Like, I don't think of like, this is the first way I would solve it. I sit back and I think about it, and I think about like the pros and cons of how I should solve it. And it's just constantly happening when you're raising a family. And my boys are like in their 20s and late teens, so it's not like they're toddlers, but you can gain power from the way you talk about yourself. So it's how you evaluate things that happen to you, and it's how you talk about yourself. And that's one of my chapters. It's called Your Big Three. So how you talk about yourself to yourself. Like, I'll share with people what my big three are, because I feel like I'm a motivational speaker and I'm an author now. But my big three aren't necessarily like something I would describe to a stranger. It's more like how I think about me. And I think it's important that as you come to the conclusion that life is for living, you got to build a framework for who you are. And it's got to be in the positive, and it's got to be something special about you. And I'll just share my three so your readers know, but it's one of my chapters. It's called The Big Three. And here's the three things about me. And it's not just about sales, but you'll find, like, when I describe something to you, I'll always back it up with information. So the first one for me would be, I'm a sales guru with 31 years of professional sales experience, successful sales experience. The second one for me is, I believe I'm a fabulous father and husband, and I've been married for 26 years. And the third one for me is that I'm also a rock and roll historian. Like, I can tell you specifics about the best bands in the world. And in most instances, I can tell you their origin. I can tell you the main musicians that were in the bands. I can tell you how they made it. Just tons of detail.
You would so get along with my dad.
Oh, okay. All right.
He loved rock and roll music from the 60s,
Does he? All right.
70s, and yeah.
Yeah, and that's kind of my genre, would be like the 60s, 70s, and 80s. Like,
here you go, the Fabulous Thunderbirds. They're probably near and dear out there.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, like the Beatles, Led Zeppelin, the Stones, the Who,
Yeah,
Van Halen,
Tom
Rush.
Petty.
Yeah, Tom Petty. I'm a big fan of Tom
Love Tom
Petty's.
Petty, and he just
Yeah.
passed. And yeah, there's so many. And then
I
there,
saw him a few years before he passed away. And Cheryl Crow. Cheryl Crow's not talked about very often. She's actually
oh, I
from
love her.
Kennett, Missouri, not too far from St. Louis, and she went to college with my sister. But Cheryl Crow, fabulous songwriter, good
Yeah.
singer, amazing
I
songwriter.
haven't heard from her in a long time, but did you know, did you ever
Mm-hmm.
listen to the band that the Traveling Wilburys, they put together, are put together with Tom Petty and then Roy Orbison and, what's his name? That's terrible. Bob Dylan. Uh,
Yeah,
and
no,
they
I know
all got
exactly who the
together.
Traveling Wilburys are.
A lot of people don't realize, because I stopped talking to people that are younger than me about
Mm-hmm.
music a long time ago, because I noticed when I said stuff, they were like, "What are you talking about? Who's that?"
Right?
And I was just like, "This is terrible. Y'all got to get," because I think it's because I'm a Pisces, but I love music. I know every genre of music, and I
Good
can
for
listen
you.
to everything, except I don't really like heavy metal, death
Uh-huh.
metal. It hurts my ears, but
Right.
I
So
love
George
it.
Harrison, George
Yes,
Harrison was in the Traveling Wilburys.
there you
What
go,
an
George Harrison.
amazing guitar player.
And a lot of people don't realize that because it was very short, but they sang the
Mm-hmm.
song at the end of the line, and it was just really, I still remember that video where they have the rocking chair in the corner of the train, and that's because Roy Orbison passed. So
Yeah.
I am showing my age now. But uh, I remember because I used to watch MTV as a kid,
Yeah.
when it was real MTV.
Sure.
But I love that you love music, and that's amazing that you got that. So you're an all well-rounded. I love it. I love this whole interview and you
Oh, cool.
sharing your experience with us. Thank you so much for joining
Oh,
us
yeah,
today.
absolutely, Jess. I mean, I think people dig my book. I mean, I it was inspired. I didn't like sit there and really have to think about it much at all. As long as I had a chapter title, I just wrote until, it was done, and then I went to the next chapter. And I didn't go on the internet at all to read about anything in terms of, like, I didn't pull anything, or there's no footnotes in it or anything. I didn't pull any information from anybody. All my information was just from years of being with professional salespeople and working under the helm of professional sales managers and business owners, and just taking all that knowledge and then my own personal spin on it, and putting it into a very concise 70-page book that's filled with inspiration and real life stories on how you can execute in your sales career. And then a buddy of mine from college bought it. Like the first day I put it out there, gentleman, he's older than me. His name's Jim, and he said, this book is not just for salespeople. I got a lot of good out of it. And he's a CFO of a company, and he said any professional could get a lot of good out of your book. So there's a lot of like really good people skills, which you have, of course, Jess, and I have, but a lot of people maybe have never been taught good people skills, and
Yes.
good people skills will take you very far in corporate America, in accounting and finance and whatever part of corporate America you find yourself, much better than bad people skills.
And and I've learned that. So, okay, so I've noticed a lot of people, and it's a reflection of their environment. And being that I grew up in Albuquerque, I understand a lot of people's thinking that aren't in the wealthy, and they don't understand. They think there's just a different way of thinking, and there's a different way of presenting. So the people on the lower end who are not, in poverty, and they don't understand it, they go there with resentment, thinking these people, blah, 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 and they don't understand it. when the rich people are going, these people, I don't understand. It's so funny because if they would just maybe open their mindset a little bit and understand they're both in the same thing. But when you want to be successful, it's not you're going to just wake up and be rich tomorrow. You can't just ponder on I'll be rich someday. It's more of you got to live it now. And that's that whole pretending that you already have it kind of thing. Because if you want it
Oh
to
yeah,
come,
I'm a big believer in the law of attraction. I didn't
you just
quite understand it at first, but I've been practicing it for 30
it's
years.
awesome. It's awesome. I teach my clients a little trick of go have your intention set. You got to set your intention on getting a cup of coffee for free. And you can really do that, but it's not going to come the weight. That's where the disconnect's got to go. Once you put it out there, then you just got to wait for it to happen. But you got to stop uh outlining it and thinking it's going to happen this way in this person. Because like I had a client, she manifested to get her nails done for free. Now her daughter ended up paying for them, but her daughter doesn't pay for her stuff usually. So her
Right,
daughter actually took her out that weekend that she was talking about, man, I want to manifest to get my nails done if we're going to do
right.
this. And her daughter went and paid for them. She's like, oh, let me pay for them, Mom. And she's like, how about that? It works. So the human mind is, our thoughts are more powerful than people realize. But I wish you much success, and
Oh, thank you.
I think you're amazing. And if you guys enjoyed this, give us a like, a thumbs up, and you can buy Jon's book. We'll go ahead and pop that up here again since I have that availability. And
Cool.
there's the link that you can get his book at. Go find it on Amazon, and maybe the next interview we'll be seeing is your wife, and about her book that she's helping to edit right now. So I'm excited, and the author. So thank you so much, everybody, for joining us.
Oh, my pleasure. Yeah.
Have a wonderful day, and love and light to all of you beautiful souls.